You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. This episode is sponsored by Demand Derivatives, a startup futures exchange and clearinghouse trading the world's major assets in a creative new way. You already trade on an exchange. Here is your chance to own one. Before they approach large strategic partners for funding, the pioneering team at Demand Derivatives launched a crowdfunding portal so that regular traders have the chance to buy shares. Learn more and become a part of this revolutionary fintech project now at demandderivatives.com/crowdfunding.
Join us now for the expert source for inside information on the options markets. It's time for Options Insider Radio with your host, Mark Longo.
All right, everybody. That music can mean only one thing. It is time once again for Interview Tuesday here on the Options Insider Radio Network. Time to bust out our Options Insider Radio program where we welcome on guests from throughout the world of options and derivatives and proceed to pick their brains for the benefit of you, the listener. My name is Mark Longo from the optionsinsider.com, as well as, of course, from the aforementioned network. Reminding you, if you like what you hear, this show, the other nearly dozen programs that are hitting you throughout the week, keep rating and reviewing. Really does help all these new folks that are discovering the world of options, then proceed to discover the content out there. We'll be their lighthouse in these stormy market seas. So keep rating and reviewing. Really does help. Keep those questions coming, too. We'd love to hear from all of you guys and gals out there these days. And let's see who we're hearing from on the old Options Insider Radio program today. I'm pleased to say we are joined once again by an old friend of the network, even though he hasn't been on in a little bit, Mr. Greg Stevens, the Vice President of the Options Experience over there at Fidelity. Greg, welcome back to the Options Insider Radio Network, sir.
Well, Mark, good to be back, and you're good to be on the show again.
I love that. The Options Experience. That's kind of where we live, Greg. We live in the Options Experience. So I guess we got the right guy to come on the show with us today.
Well, we definitely live in the Options Experience, that's for sure. We've got a little bit of experience between the two of us.
Well, let's get into that then. It's been a little while, a year or two or maybe three or so since you've joined us here on the network. Obviously, a lot has happened, particularly over the course of the past year and change. Since the last time we chatted, we've seen the pandemic get into high gear. We've seen volatility explode, then erode. We've seen now coming into this year, a lot more shocks hitting the system. So let's start there. Catch us up. What has that options experience been like at Fidelity over the past year and change as the markets have been exploding, volatility has been exploding, and a flood of new entrants have entered the world of options, Greg?
Yeah, Mark, I think it's pretty similar to probably some of your other guests who have been on and the discussions you've been having, over the last, 6 months to a year. And, well, honestly, probably even before that. We've, as you mentioned, there's new entrants in the market. The markets have seen a significant increase in volumes as, measured by the OCC, volume stats that we see coming through. I'm going to be really interested to see Henry Schwartz's updates, in the coming OIC, conference on things that he's seen over the past year as well. But Fidelity's no different. We've seen, new investors, come in. We're trying to meet them, where they're at, making sure that they have the right education at the right spot at the right time.
Well, let's get into that a little bit then, because obviously all the narrative, all the focus has been around, call them what you will, the Robin Hood, the One Lot, these new retail traders. But as you just mentioned, Fidelity, a big player in the space, also saw an influx of new players over there on the platform. So walk us through what the last year and change from a customer experience has been like. How many new customers have you guys added? What are you guys seeing on the options front? Have people really been diving in en masse? Have you seen the same kind of flow we've seen on other platforms where folks are flocking into upside calls and let's say your Teslas and your AMCs and your games? Or what kind of flow, what kind of experience have you been having over there, Greg, since the last time we chatted?
Yeah, I think, as we started to talk about, the experience has been, very similar across, the industry. We've seen, new entrants come into the markets, just trying to learn a bit about, the product. To me, Mark, this is a tremendous opportunity, for our industry. We've always talked about financial education and being able to provide for the next generation, coming up. Make sure that we have, the right tools and the right education and the right spots, for them. And really, here at Fidelity, we've seen an influx. We've definitely got a little bit younger, from a crowd, perspective or from a trader perspective. But the real interesting thing is I think we still see the need and the opportunity for education across all age groups. I don't think anything has really changed. There's interest in trading options out there, and we've seen a steady flow of customers into our educational resources. We're doing things a little bit differently these days. Over the past 2 or 3 years, really started to get into some individual coaching, for our customers, but as well, we have these, coaching classes that are relatively small compared to some of our larger webinars where, we'll have 10, 15, 20, 30 people, in almost a classroom setting where they can get a little bit more of a personalized attention. And what I mean by that is they can ask their questions. When we used to do, these, 3-hour long, presentations or even an hour-long presentation where it's really we are, speaking to you and not with you, in the room. We have an entirely new setup, that we can, get customers, and in the Zoom generation, I guess if we want to call it that, really, more access, more information, directly to them at a quicker. It's somewhat of a quicker pace, but yeah, I do look at this as a tremendous opportunity, to help, these investors, grow, their, lifelong financial goals, and some of them are starting with options. Some of them are starting, with, mutual funds, dare I say. But it's good all around, I think, for us to be able to be there for them, where and when they need it.
Really? So you as a Fidelity client can now go over there and get effectively small class coaching. Is that what our friends used to be on the option block with us all the time? Trey and all the rest. Is that what they're up to these days, Greg? Are they doing the small class coaching over there?
They are doing that. And they're also, participating in some of the large class, coaching. We still see, we still have some of our bigger classes, as an introduction, to options, basics, making sure that, customers have the general idea. Learning options is a lifelong journey. I learn new things and see new things all the time, especially over the last year. And but it is, Trey and the guys are doing these individual coaching classes. And Mark, as you and I know, it's just not options, right? You have to know the underlying. You have to be able to pick a stock. You have to have an idea of where the stock is going, when it's going to get there. And so not only do they do option classes, but, we, provide, coaches on or classes on, fundamentals, on technical analysis, on using our tools. So, there's a lot to be learned. It's just not a one-stop and then send you off kind of off thing. But they do, several classes a week. And, for any of our listeners out there who are Fidelity customers and those who aren't, I definitely, go check it out. I believe fidelity.com /classroom.
I think your dog likes the mentoring as well. I think he wants to get in on a session or two there, Greg. But yeah, I miss those guys. The Song of Ice and Fire, The Last Dad of Krypton. We had The Last Emperor. So I'm sure the clients over there at Fidelity who are taking classes with those guys, they are in good hands, Greg.
They're definitely in good hands, and it's been a tremendous growth for them. I mean, and just the level of the level of education that they bring is pretty awesome. So, it's good to have that. I mean, I think two things. I mean, we as an industry have went from having to call your trades in, to being able to place them online, to attending in-person classes, to where we're at currently now, and we can really meet our customers where they're at, and what I mean by that is whether it's in mobile or they're on fidelity.com, or for some of those higher touch things going on in their accounts, they can always call someone as well and talk to a person and be able to have their concerns or their questions answered in a one-on-one basis as well. So Trey and them are at the front of all of that, and I mean they do a fantastic job.
Well, it's clearly resonating with the audience out there, Greg. I was looking at the numbers here for our recently concluded Options Insider Broker Madness tournament for this year. And, all the focus, all the noise, all the media has been around the millennial type brokers, your Robin Hoods and your Weebles. But you guys matched up against Weeble in round one and you smoked them pretty handily. So there you go, Greg, a little feather in your cap. The mentoring session seemed to be paying off, sir.
I definitely like to hear that. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, all of, the platforms you guys included, I mean, it's not, maybe, if it has been, 3 years since you and I've talked, I mean, we really have, social media has, become a much bigger part, of what we do, and being able to, provide, customers the information there as well. Not just letting them come to us, but going out to them. You guys do a great service. I mean, and providing our customers with real, with real life education. This is what's going on in the market. These are what we're seeing out there, and that's important. And it's important that we, get out in front of that and make sure that they're getting the right information, just not the information.
One of the questions everyone has, and it seemed like it was the question on everyone's lips coming into the start of this year, was 2020 an aberration? Was this massive explosion of, call them whatever you want, the one lots, the Robin Hoods, whatever you want to call them, these small retail accounts, was that just a byproduct of being stuck at home during the pandemic, or was it here to stay? And at least seems like so far in 2021, it's here to stay. March, of course, the busiest month in the history of the business. January, number 2. I believe February was number 3 in there. So you're looking at effectively the busiest quarter ever since options were first dreamed up. So at least so far, the volume here to stay. But Greg, I'm curious for you folks and the folks over there at Fidelity, what is your outlook on this retail explosion? You think it's kind of a very near-dated phenomenon, or you think this has been a sea change in the world of options, and we're looking at structurally more volume, structurally more participants to come?
Well, what I would say to that is that, in my personal opinion, is that we're going to keep, these folks around. Not all of them. I mean, it's like everything. I mean, we never keep 100% of everything. And so there will be, people who come into the market, there'll be people who leave the market. But I do believe that we're probably going to keep some of this volume, if not, at least half or more, when it comes to, these investors. I mean, they've opened their accounts, they're funded, they are trading, and I think that the test for this, Mark, and as you know, people tend to run away a little bit when the markets go down. It'll be interesting to see what happens to our volumes, and volumes always go down during those times. But I do think that, these investors are here to stay. And so that's why it's important for us to again, get out there, be in front of it, have conversations with them, see what their needs are. Because I think that, the other thing too, Mark, what I think is that, it's made everyone rethink their business models a little bit. And when I say that is that's going to improve, the infrastructure, the technology, the investor experience for everyone, not just, this group. So I think it's tremendous opportunity. I think some of the volume, if not a good portion of it, will stick around. But I guess, if we come back a year later and we're talking about this again, you can you can call me out if it doesn't happen.
Well, the last time you and I chatted face-to-face, Greg, was back at the last in-person Options Industry Conference way back. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but way back in the pre-pandemic era of 2019. I bring that up because it is OIC time yet again. Not quite in person yet. It's still virtual, but OIC will be popping off very soon over there, listeners. So look for a slew of guests joining us throughout the week here as we try to approximate some of our in-person OIC coverage this week. But Greg, one of the reasons I bring that up is because you are speaking over there at OIC. So what is top of mind for you guys at OIC? What are you talking about this year, sir?
Well, so very much what we've, just went over is, investor education and how do we address and educate, the new group of investors and entrants coming into the market. And I think that, it's definitely, top of mind that, we want to make sure that we're getting, in front of these folks and providing them with the right information. Some of, what's driven, this over the past year, it is what we're going to talk about as well, whether it's commissions or just, the pandemic or just social media. And it's probably a combination of them all, but it'll be an interesting conversation to see, what the panel thinks, about, this all of the new volume, coming in, the new entrants. And I would say it's just not only millennials, it's a broad group, of folks out there trading. But I'm looking forward to it. We've got a great panel, and we'll get after it.
Yeah, if you want to check it out for yourselves, listeners, if you are registered for OIC, the panel is called Investing in Knowledge. It's got Greg, it's got Lori Schock from the SEC, Jamal Chandler, he used to be at SIBO, now I believe is over there at Tasty Trade, and Denise from OCC. So it should be an interesting conversation on options and a whole bunch of financial literacy and a whole bunch of other fun stuff. Well, you kind of mentioned earlier in our conversation there, Greg, you guys have upgraded the experience over there at Fidelity from an options perspective, adding, of course, a lot of those small mentoring sessions. But obviously, when you see an explosion of action on the platform's also probably going to get some upgrades and some overhauls and some new bells and whistles. So hit us with a few of those. What's new? What bells and whistles have you added to the Fidelity Options platform since the last time you chatted, sir?
Yeah, what we're looking to do is to get out in front, and do a little redesigning and simplification of the experience as much as you can with options, right? It's a complex, complex product, but we're trying to redesign and provide a new experience, for our users across all of our applications, whether it's Active Trader Pro or Fidelity.com, or mobile. And in the coming months, quarters, years, our investors, or the investors, at Fidelity will hopefully be able to see a consistent experience across all of our applications and have something a little more something that's a little more personalized and it's going to help them meet their needs.
I like it. Well, speaking of meeting the needs of your clients and customers, we have to meet the needs of our audience as well. So I'm going to squeeze in a few of our listeners who are listening live. First off, looks like your buddy, Mr. Schwartz, is lurking in there. It's a mutual love fest between the two of you. You said earlier how excited you are to hear Henry speak. So Henry just says to you that you are great, Greg. So there you go. A little bit of live love from your buddy, Mr. Schwartz.
Henry.
Yeah, the Henry guy, not a huge fan. But I guess the two of you, to each their own. I won't judge you on your clearly poor taste. Our audience, though, always has good taste. One of our listeners here, Tony Weber, clearly he's a Fidelity 401k user. He says the phone support in his 401k has been great. The guys really know their stuff. He also wants to know why options are not available in 401ks. And you think that will change in the near term? Well, I guess the latter portion we can talk about first. Clearly, he's liking what you guys have done from a support and indeed a knowledge-based perspective over there at Fidelity, Greg. So listeners, give a thumbs up to that. And I guess you can answer the 401k. I know it's kind of outside your purview, but why can't they trade more options on 401ks, Greg? I blame it all on you.
Well, typically, So, the answer I would give, can you trade, options in a 401k, anytime soon? And I'm going to say no, to that. That's a, government-driven regulatory, type of thing. But, the 401ks, they're also, brokerage accounts that you can open up as part of, the retirement program. And we do allow, options trading in those. Now, the thing is, that is up to every firm or every business, to decide what's best for their employees. Some will allow you to trade, options as part of your 401k in a separate account, not in the 401k itself, but you can open up a brokerage account, and if they say, and if they allow it, you can trade options in there. Typically up to spreads trading, in the account, no nakeds, out there, nothing too risky. Most will only allow cover call trading, and maybe a few will allow you to buy options. But so it is possible, to do it in a 401k, but it's entirely up to your, to the company you work for to make that decision. But I would, give them a quick call and talk to them about it, and there might be an opportunity for you. But only conservative strategies.
Yeah, definitely check that out, Tony, and everyone else who's listening, because I had a similar experience. My wife had a legacy 401k that I was looking at recently. I said, I could probably upgrade this to be able to do some more with it. And I contacted the firm that it was with, and lo and behold, I was able to transfer it over to effectively, like Greg was talking about, more of a self-directed brokerage style type account where you can do options. So it does depend on the plan and the firm and everything else. There's a lot of regulatory things going on behind the scenes there, but it is worth contacting, because you're right. Otherwise, you're sitting there in that kind of dead passive money. And if you're listening to a show like this, you like to be a little bit more active. So I agree with you there, Tony, that if you can, it's worth at least a call. You said they're knowledgeable, so give them a call and see what they have in store for you. Well, Greg, unfortunately, we don't have much time in store for us here. But before we go, you kind of given us a taste of some of the upgrades you've put in on the platform over there since the last time we chatted. You also gave us a bit of a preview of what you're going to be talking about over there at OIC. But before we go, I love to leave our audience wanting more, Greg. So if you have any other fun hints, maybe some teases of what's coming down the pike from you and the options team over there at Fidelity, now is the time, sir. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I think, Mark, the one thing to bring up to the audience is, we're rolling out a new simplified options trade ticket with more information, within it, in context education. So, Mark, this goes back to our point about, meeting, customers where they are, bringing the information to them to help them make more informed decisions. So we'll be looking at that in the coming, quarters and years. We're going to be looking at redefining our options experience in Fidelity.com, Active Trader Pro. So more to come on that as we move forward. But definitely be on the look for our new trade ticket, that's going to be rolling out, and we look forward to everyone's feedback.
All right, and there's more to come from the network throughout the rest of this week. Some more interviews in store for you later today. So if you haven't gotten your fill with our conversation, stay tuned. More coming at you a little bit later today. Of course, tomorrow, Education Wednesday, Options Bootcamp, Options Playbook Radio coming at you tomorrow as well. Thursday, episode 2 of the Option Block. And of course, TWIFO this week in Futures Options. Friday, we wrap it all up with Volatility Views, where we kick it all off again on Monday with the Option Block and the Crypto Rundown, all the way through to another interview Tuesday, another episode of Options Insider Radio.
This episode is sponsored by Demand Derivatives, a startup futures exchange and clearinghouse trading the world's major assets in a creative new way. You already trade on an exchange. Here is your chance to own one. Before they approach large strategic partners for funding, the pioneering team at Demand Derivatives launched a crowdfunding portal so that regular traders have the chance to buy shares. Learn more and become a part of this revolutionary fintech project now at demandderivatives.com/crowdfunding. You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/The Options Insider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.